Good morning, geographers. We hope that you had a great weekend. So, this week we're going to be looking at the impacts of international aid on Nigeria. We already know international aid. We've had a big in depth look at it when we looked at the Oxfam goats. Um, and so, you're already experts on that. And all we need to do this week is learn about how that specifically works in Nigeria. Um, we're almost at the end of our Nigeria unit. Next week, we're going to look at the environmental impacts of industry, and then we're going to finish the unit by just a quick look at Nigeria's quality of life. We're so proud of how you've all been working really, really hard, really diligently, despite everything, despite the situation. Um, and, your hard work hasn't gone unnoticed here. So please do keep it up. We've got 3 weeks left. So this week, what we're going to do, you can start by reading pages 228 or 229 of the textbook. It looks like this. It's just these 2 pages here. Remember, you can find the textbook under Files, AQA textbook, and then all of them are listed in there with Nigeria pinned to the top. Okay. Alternatively, you could watch the video explainer. In the video explainer, I talk through the textbook, and I also give some extra detail, so it could be quite useful. It's about 10 minutes long. I want you to then, once you're either reading it or watching the video, take notes on why does Nigeria receive aid? What aid do they receive? What's the impact of aid in Nigeria? What are some of the reasons that it may not be used effectively? So, why might aid not get to the people that it needs to help? Why do you think NGOs support health projects in Nigeria? Remember, NGOs are non-governmental organisations, so usually charities, but also can be organisations such as the World Bank. Why are small scale development projects usually the best use of international aid? So that's small scale development projects are things like the goats. They are things that are usually delivered straight to the community. And I've got a little challenge question for anybody who wants it. So do a little bit of research. Has aid in Nigeria been effective, and has it helped to lift people out of poverty? Has it helped to improve Nigeria's development? Now, I've worded it this way, so helped lift people out of poverty, because it's a little bit easier to research if you want to just Google some form of that question than if you try to Google about reducing Nigeria's development gap. Then I've got 5 links to YouTube videos just so you can see kind of what the aid looks like, what the impact of the aid is. So you only need to watch 2 or 3. You can watch all of them if you have the chance to watch all of them. That's great. But some of them are longer than others. Some of them are only about 2 minutes long. So why does Nigeria need aid? Aid in the northeast of Nigeria. Now, remember the physical geography of Nigeria. We know that the northeast is quite hot and dry. They can't do a lot of, or it's quite hard to do farming. They're quite nomadic communities. So, why might they need more aid than people in the south? We've got a video from WaterAid. We've got a video about aid for malaria. So, that ties in healthcare, but also that our case studies that we did about malaria. And then I've put a little counter argument just in case you need to answer a question where you have to assess the extent of something or justify something. The problem with education aid. So, what are some of the downsides of providing education aid? And then what you're going to do, you're going to choose one area of development, so either education, healthcare, water, or sanitation. So it's usually like providing running water, but also providing shower and bathroom facilities, and also providing sanitary care as well. Um, so you're going to name 2 organisations that deliver aid targeted at your chosen area. So whatever you've chosen here, um, you're just going to find 2 organisations. They can be probably charities, and you can just Google. Say if you're doing education, you can do education aid and Nigeria, healthcare aid Nigeria. You could Google what types of international aid did Nigeria receive, and you should be able to find that. What are the impacts of aid? So we're going to think social, economic, and environmental when we're breaking down the impacts. How will improving this area, so education, healthcare, water, sanitation, reduce the development gap in Nigeria? And then are there any barriers or downsides to that aid being delivered? So the only reasons that the aid might not be delivered very effectively. You may have to use your own knowledge for this one, and it's absolutely fine. And then finally finish the work by completing the quiz, which I'll post on Wednesday at 9 a.m. And I've put an extension task here. There's 2 extension tasks. So the first one is to research how much or how the UK delivers aid to Nigeria. So how much does it cost? Who delivers it? What are some of the projects that the UK government has funded? Does the UK benefit from this aid at all? So is it entirely just to help Nigeria, or do we maybe get something out of it? And then, do you think that multilateral or bilateral aid is most effective? And you may need to go back through the textbook in the development gap unit to refresh your memory about those 2 types of aid. And then, why do you think that's most effective? I've got a link to the government's profile on aid in Nigeria. This is quite a meaty document, so it's okay if you look at it and think, actually, that's a bit tricky. I'm not going to do that. Just remember, this is an extension task. And I've also got a link to a TEDx talk about why foreign aid doesn't always work. As I said before, it's good when we are thinking of those longer questions, like when we have to say to what extent, or justify something, or assess the benefits of something, that we know counter arguments. So this will just give you a stronger counter argument for that. But again, if all you focus on this week are just these 4 tasks, absolutely fine. As always, if you have any questions, you can email me, Mr. Davidson, or Mr. Ranson. But otherwise, have a great week.